is there really a distinction between the Eastern way, Eastern thought and Western thought? I'd like to establish that. Or there is only this extraordinary phenomena of the world being divided as the East and the West.
But what has divided it?
Geographically, first.
Yes.
Politically.
Yes.
Economically.
Yes.
As a much more ancient civilization, if I can use that word, than the West. All that is the Indian mind, if you can use that word mind with regard to all that.
Yes.
The Western world is much more concerned, as far as I can see, I may be mistaken, is concerned with worldly affairs.
But what turned it in that direction?
Climate, much more, very much more, it's a colder climate, and all the inventions and all the modern technology comes from the northern part of the world.
No, but
northern people.
If it was only climate, then
no,
Mexico,
it's not only the climate.
Mexico, Africa, Equatorial Africa would have the same mind.
No,
but
it's not that. It's not only the climate.
So that's not the answer.
It's climate and the whole so-called religious way of life in the West is very, very different from the West, from the East.
That's what I'm saying, that somewhere along the line, people of one racial stock, seemingly, divided.
Divided, yes, from Sumeria and so on.
Divided. And what the direction in which the West turned was the discovery of their dialogue with nature, out of which rose technology, out of which rose all the great scientific fine truths. India also had a dialogue with nature and with the self.
But on a different...
Of a different...
nature. Absolutely, quite.
The dialogues were in themselves of a different kind.
So are you trying to say that the Eastern mind, Indian mind, is more concerned with the religious matters than the West? Here in the West, it's all rather superficial, though they think it's rather deep. And there in India, the tradition, literature, and everything says the world is not so important as the understanding of the self, yes, or the understanding of the universe, yes, understanding of the highest principle, yes, Brahman.
Yes. This swiftness with which the mind can start the inquiry is perhaps different to the West, where the inquiry, the insights, the great insights,
no, but it's, of course,
have been in a different direction.
But here you see in the religious matters, doubt, skepticism, questioning is absolutely denied. Faith is all important here. In Indian religion, in the Buddhism and so on, doubt, questioning, inquiring becomes all important.
Becomes all important.
So
out of this, today somehow both the cultures are in crisis. In crisis.
Yes, of course. Would you say not only cultures, but the whole human consciousness is in a crisis?
Well, would you distinguish human consciousness from culture?
No.
In a sense, they're the same.
No, basically not.
So the crisis at the very root is making them search somewhere away from themselves. They feel an inadequacy, and so they turn to the other culture. It's happening in both countries.
Yes, but you see, Bubulji, I'm questioning whether in their search from their materialistic outlook, if I may use that word, they are being caught by all kinds of superstitious, romantic, occult ideas and these gurus that come over here and all the rest of it. But what I want to find out is whether human consciousness, if it is in a crisis, as it is, whether it's possible not only to resolve that crisis without war destroying humanity, whether human beings can ever go beyond their own limitation. I don't know if I'm making myself clear.
So, may I just...
Of course, this is a discussion.
The outer and inner is like the material and the search within. It's two mirror images of these two directions in which man has moved. The problem really is that if man has to survive, the two have to be...
They must live together.
Not live together, but a human culture come
Yes,
into being,
that's him. Yes.
which would contain both.
Both. Now, what do you mean by the word culture? What do you mean by culture?
Isn't culture everything that the brain possesses?
That is, would you say the training of the brain and refining the brain?
The training of the brain and the refinement of the brain.
And the expression of that refinement in action, in behavior, in relationship, and also a process of inquiry that leads to something totally untouched by thought. I would say this is culture.
Would you include inquiry in the field of culture?
Of course.
Isn't culture a closed circuit?
If you can make of it that way, or you can break it and go beyond.
But today culture is a closed circuit. Today culture as it exists.
That's why I want to understand what you mean by the word culture.
As we understand it today, Krishnaji, it is our perceptions, the way we look at things, our thoughts, our feelings, our attitudes to our sensory, the operation of our senses.
And go on.
You can keep on adding to this.
That is the religion,
religion,
faith, belief, superstition.
The outer and the inner.
Yes.
Which keeps on growing, maybe growing, but it's all growing within that contour. It remains a contour. And when you talk of a search, which is no way connected with this, would you include it in the
search?
Inquiry, search, observance.
I understand.
You can use any word.
Of course.
But would you put it into the field of culture? You would.
Of course.